Welcome to our podcast where we talk about real financial problems with real people and come up with real financial solutions. My name's Irene Meyer.
Villanova, hello everyone. Okay, so today, Irene, if you're okay with this, what I wanted to talk about, because I was looking back at some of our segments and we remembered that we had said that we were going to do an episode on generational debt and generational wealth. You were very keen on that. You wanted to do that segment. And I was thinking, yeah, that's a great segment. And I have lots to say on it. And I'm sure you have lots to say on it because that is actually probably the biggest problem in everyone's financial plan and situation existing today. If you think about it.
Tell me your thoughts. Which one are you pretty passionate about talking about?
I firmly believe the problem is more in generational wealth because they both fit into that, right? The generational debt is because the general wealth was never established. The generational wealth was never established in the first place. So if we talk about the way the debt is happening generationally, it's because no education was ever passed on and nothing was ever set up. I'd like to talk about maybe, and I don't know if you want to start first or if I want to start first. Ladies first, maybe, however you want to start this. I can run with it if you want.
It's interesting because a lot of it has a lot to do with what we've been taught. And we've already established there's no teachings about finance in any of our formal school at all. We learn math, but that's pretty much it. And everything we can be taught is through the home. So besides just watching our parents do their thing financially or not talk about it at all, that's how we learn. That's why you have this whole money is bad idea, because it's taught in the home. It's not like we were born out of our mom's womb and said money's bad. We were taught that, much like other things. But I was sitting down with a client who you could tell she's very, how can I say? It was interesting because she's very good with her money and her parents are very involved with giving her advice, which I thought was pretty nice too, because you don't hear that. Her parents really want her to buy a house. She lives in Vancouver. And so when you think about that, again, her parents give us this idea that owning a home is good. And I've learned more recently that what makes it good? Because I think for some people, it's subjective. Some people don't want to own a home. They're fine renting. It in some places of Canada, I'm sure it's the same in the US, it's very feasible to own a home. And some places it's not. And her parents saying to her, you should own a home, we'll help you, we'll help you. It sounds like one of her parents has multiple rental properties with her partner. So she has somebody else, a spouse. But when I started to do the math, I had to really show her what it was like to own a house and then what it was like to get a mortgage. And basically at the end of the whole kind of presentation, it was, she couldn't get a home on her own, right? She would have to save up $140,000 for a down payment so she could get qualified for a mortgage on her own income. And she makes good income, don't get me wrong, but not enough to buy a home in the place she lives, like Vancouver. And they were going to help her. She decided to take it upon herself, which I'm so glad she did, to go find her own way to talk to an actual financial advisor, because none of her parents were advisors. She just felt like her parents were well established. And then at the end of it, when I gave her plan, I did recognize the fact that she is influenced by her parents. So I wanted to be in front of that objection and say, listen, I'll give you some time. I know that you probably want to run through this scenario again, and probably your parents will want to ask. I even asked if I could record our session so that she can show it to her parents without having to stumble through remembering what I had to say. So
Right.
I wanted her to be comfortable, and she's oh yeah, I'm sure that they're going to want to know. I'm like, yeah, because I didn't want to spend all this time explaining everything to her about my expertise and then have her parents tear it down. And if they saw, and if she had proof of why I made the suggestions, then they really can't dispute anything. The only thing that she had, or I guess her parents had over me, was that I think one of her parents was an accountant. And that was another thing too, is we need to talk to our accountant for financial advice. And although I'm sure there's a lot of accountants out there that can give advice. They're not financial advisors. They don't have access to the things that they might even be giving financial advice to. So you still have to talk to a financial advisor. And a good financial advisor is going to run through proper scenarios, not just go over the worksheets, the numbers. They're going to have to ask for the goals.
Yeah. There's a big difference between tax advice and holistic financial planning. Right? It's like I've been hearing on the radio mortgage brokers saying, come see me, we'll set up a financial plan. They're not setting up a financial plan. They're showing you how to purchase your next home, maybe to budget to what you need for your next home, but they're not going to actually lay out a plan for you. They're using these tactics to get someone to come in the door and talk to them. But think of it. Okay, so in our industry, there's three big titles. There's CFP, CFAs, right? And HLQP, right? So you have a certified financial planner. They don't do any investing. They don't do any insurances. They don't do anything, right? They do planning. All that's what they do. They do planning unless they get the other licenses. And just a specific, a CFA, a certified financial advisor, they're doing investments, purely investments, right? No planning. It just didn't, they can show you how to invest your money. Then you get your HLQP. This is where there's some difficulty with HLQP is because that's an insurance license. However, depending on the agency that you're with, they might give you the option to do more holistic planning. And this is why there's so much, we're under the microscope right now in our industry because there's too much diversity there. There's too much, this agency can do this, one can do this. So if you find an HLQP who has the ability to do planning, who has the ability to do investing and insurances, you're getting the best of all worlds, realistically, right? In that aspect, it's like an accountant saying, let me do a financial, but they're accountants, so they're tax specialists. They'll do your books for you, that kind of stuff, but they're not, it's like a CFA, say a financial advisor saying, I'll do a financial plan for you when I've never done one before. Or it's like a mortgage broker who can tell you what you need in order to buy a home, if you can get an approval or not. Doesn't make sense when we run into those scenarios. I was talking to a potential client as well, and his mother is a certified financial advisor. I asked him, does she also do insurance and does she do financial planning? He doesn't know. But those are the things where knowing that there's so many different levels. Now you, the general public, but ask, okay, can you actually do planning? Can you actually, if I get this great portfolio in place, can I protect it with insurance through you? Now you know that those barriers may be there. Ask if your accountant says, no, I can help you with financial planning. Oh yeah, so you can actually help me set up an investment for me? No, I can't do that. If you can't do that, then you really don't know.
Yeah.
You really don't know because you don't know what those investments will do. You're guessing. You're going on what maybe somebody else has told you, which is not credible professional advice.
Yeah.
So we have to be really careful. And I'm glad that this girl did talk to you about that.
But coming back to the whole point, like generational, and maybe I'll take the side of generational debt. A lot of the generational debt that generations are passing down to their kids is not sound advice. It's based on, again, what they learned, what they heard, like you said, rumors, their friends, their neighbors. I heard this. I watched TikTok for that. That's what generational debt is. The whole premise of generational debt is not passing on debt burdens to your loved ones if, when you leave this earth, but it's also the lack of proper information about using debt properly, like her parents saying, yeah, go get a house. Actually, if she were to get a house on her own, right, with her parents, she'd be in a very, in a worse position.
She'd be house broke.
Yeah, right now she has a couple grand every month to save for this house. So I had to ask her, why do you want a home? I had to go back to that. And thankfully, back to our podcast a few podcasts ago when you talked about equity in a life insurance policy versus owning a home. Yeah, luckily we had done that, and I felt confident to ask her why own a house. But I'll tell you this: not that long ago, I thought owning a house was also what we do, what we should do. Because again, I don't want to be paying somebody else's mortgage is a thing that people say. I'm like, what does that mean to you though? It's not just about paying someone else's mortgage. There are other sides to that.
Yeah.
To own a home. So anyway, so again, another one of those statements that passed on from generations before us. And generational debt is having to think that we need to go into debt because there's good debt and bad debt. That's one very big thing too. Two, obviously passing on debt. And three, really not talking about the impact of debt to your overall picture. Do you want to take on like generational wealth? People bring that up all the time. What does that mean?
It doesn't mean money. It doesn't mean assets. It doesn't mean any of that, people. It just means the knowledge, the know-how. Because let's look at this scenario. Let's say our children, the next generation, are bombarded with the knowledge of financial stability, and they all know it. We don't. We all die. We leave a burden of garbage on all of them. They have the knowledge now at young ages on what to do. I guarantee you within a few years, they will have gotten rid of our burden and they'll be on the path to success themselves if they have the knowledge. They have the knowledge. But if they don't have the knowledge, they'll just keep doing what we did. And so that's what it is. And then, of course, if we get the knowledge now, we start living that, we start showing that, we become the examples of that, the next generation pick up on that, and that's how that all starts. Let me ask you a few questions here. And it's directed and sorry, but okay, you've had religious beliefs, right?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's say you're Catholic. What is something that the Catholic Church says 10% all the time? You have to give
Says 10% all the time.
There's 10% offerings that you give to the church.
I was never taught that.
Tithing. Catholic.
Yeah, I've heard of that, but like that in my household wasn't a thing.
So religion talks about tithing, right? It's one of these things where they say, if you offer charity, you receive back. You always, if you give, you get. So on a spiritual level, they talk about tithing. Now, have you ever yourself come across life coaches or motivational coaches or those kind of people? Like coaches that teach you, maybe business coaches, all of these kind of stuff. Have you talked to any of them? Yep. Roughly, without being specific, roughly, what kind of money are you talking about to invest in one of these kind of people?
I don't know, maybe for 12 weeks, you could be looking at upwards of,
depending on the level they are.
Yeah, so let's just say for maybe a really good price, 3,000 to 5,000.
5,000, okay, yeah. So you're talking in the thousands to educate yourself mentally, enhance yourself mentally. Okay, an average gym, how much does that cost?
About $50 a month.
Yeah, so like the most generic ones are around $50, $30 to $50 a month. You can get to the higher end ones, which is 100 or more a month. Most gyms are anywhere from $30 to $50 a month. Okay, so you're investing something for your physical well-being.
Yeah.
Okay, I believe in generational wealth, you have to maintain 4 pillars: spiritual health, mental health, physical health, and financial health for generational wealth. Okay. Any one of those 4 pillars goes, you have a problem. But it's funny because as a society, we accept tithing. We accept having to talk to a doctor or a psychologist or anyone for our mental well-being. We accept to pay money to a gym.
Right.
But we are scared to contribute where a financial advisor is telling us it's for us. That's actually going to come back to us. Like setting up investments, setting up insurance policies, all of these things that can actually benefit us financially. We hesitate.
Why?
I don't understand that. And again, this is where the generational knowledge and the generational wealth is not being held with equality. If spiritually you're not complete or you're struggling, usually you don't feel good about yourself. Same with mental. We see that.
Yeah.
Physical health. If you're not maintaining your physical health, the rest of it goes as well. So all of them, and then financially, how many people are financially struggling and now their mental health starts to go, and then their physical health starts to go. So all of them are intertwined. You want a good balance in yourself. You want to feel good about yourself. You want to look in the mirror and say, hey, I'm doing awesome. Get those 4 places in check. Yeah. And that's the beginning of your generational wealth. As soon as you get those 4 places in check, you are beginning your generational wealth. Because now, if you maintain that, you start feeling good about that, you are now starting to live the lifestyle because you've set up yourself with a financial advisor. You've set up yourself spiritually. I'm not talking, and when I say spiritually, I don't mean you have to become a Catholic, Mormon, none of those. You don't have to become a whatever is spiritually fulfilling you.
Yeah.
Then find something that's going to give you that spiritual peace. And then again, when it comes to your mental health, right? If you're if you can't maintain your thoughts, find somebody who can help you. Who can help you because a
Right.
counselor, it doesn't. There's anything that anyone that is neutral that you can talk to, and then on top of it, then you're talking about your physical health, guys. Start walking, start doing
Right.
something, get active, get
Yeah.
off Netflix, get off your phones, get off your tablets, take time for your physical health. And then
Right.
you're going to start feeling good about yourself once you get all those four things in motion. When you start feeling good
Right.
about yourself, don't forget it. This is the biggest thing. You start to feel good. You forget what got you feeling good. Start
Mm.
building that realm, enhance it, then pass it on. Tell people, hey, I started feeling good because I did all this. I watched this video of Phil and Irene and they talked about these four pillars and I actually did it. And wow,
Yeah.
start talking about these things
Yeah.
because it's so important. And I honestly believe if you start that, you start living that example, you start passing that on to the next generation. That's how it starts.
That's a matter of even just being curious first. I think a lot of people go through life not even questioning anything that happens, why they're thinking things they do and why things happen. They just go through life and accept it as, oh, that's just how it is, versus maybe even thinking about just even taking a moment to think about why did that happen? I've just seen it so often. And I'll be honest with you, I've been there myself where don't even think about why things happen. How can you even begin to search for solutions and then therefore take that your pillar approach, right? Let's say we won't take about finances. We'll talk about the spiritual part. Unless you even question anything about your life, you're never going to get to that point. You're never going to get to that point of even coming up with solutions. You have to question. And I think maybe the first clue, and this could apply to all the pillars you're talking about, is are you 100% happy in each of these pillars? Are you 100% happy with your wealth building or your net worth statement, whatever you want to call it? Or are you 100% happy with how you feel about yourself or how you feel about people in general? And I would venture to say that I don't think anybody would say 100%, yeah. I honestly don't. I think that most people have some sort of gap in one of those pillars, but the key is to even recognize that you have a gap. And I think too many people don't even think about that. They're just more willing to point the finger. It's the government, it's the banks, right?
It's too easy to
My
point the
ex,
finger.
it's my ex, right? Ex is the reason why I feel this way.
If you're ever feeling not good about anything, people, it's never about anything external. It's always about you. It's always about you. Get a piece of paper and a pen. Write down those four pillars. Write down spiritual, write down physical, write down the word mental, write down the word financial. Put columns. Okay. So in spiritual, the question is, do you believe in anything greater than yourself? A power greater than you? Yes or no? Put it in your column, right? Are you thinking about your physical health and doing anything about it? Yes or no? And then in your mental, are you in full control of your mental stability? Or do you sometimes feel like you don't have control of it? Yes or no? Financial,
Right.
do you feel financially secure? Yes or no? If you answer no to any of
Right.
those, then you
Yeah.
need to work on it.
Yeah.
Just start. You just have to start because there's obviously a problem. Just
Yeah.
start. How do I start? Okay, spiritually, you need to investigate. With the internet, it's so simple. Investigate what works for you. What is it that you actually believe in? If you want to believe in aliens, all the power to you, right? There are
Mhm.
a lot of people out there that believe in aliens. If you want to believe in a god, there's religion everywhere. If you want to believe in other entities, they're going to be
Yeah.
out there, right? But there has to be something greater than you because there needs to be more.
Yeah.
There has to be more because you need
Right.
to strive for something, a greatness. And then in regards to your mental health, or yeah, your actual mental health, if you feel like I just can't get these thoughts together, I sometimes feel down for long periods of time that where it affects you. Okay, you know what? There's counselors out there, there's family counselors out there that are next to nothing if free. Go set up an appointment. Just set up the appointment. Don't feel insecure, don't feel nothing. It's funny because if you interviewed every single superstar that you admire on TV and you ask them, do you see a counselor? I guarantee you 99.9, if not 100% of them are going to say yes.
Yeah.
They all talk to counselors. So don't even feel insecure about the fact that you have to talk to a counselor because everyone with money does. There is something greater than money, and that's knowledge, and that's foundation and stability. And again, with the physical health, if you don't think about and do something about your physical health, people, that's everything from dieting to what you're taking in to what you're doing physically. If you're not doing anything physically, well, there's going to be an imbalance in your life, and you're not going to have that fulfillment feeling. And when you look in the mirror, you're not going to feel good about yourself. Take whatever the next step is. Start eating right, start going to a gym, or just start walking, going on bike rides, whatever. There's so many options out there to get physically active. And then the
Right.
obvious thing with financial, the obvious thing, don't set up a checking and a savings account. Don't do it. You're not going to get any further ahead. You're going to still feel the same way. Just talk to a professional, get a consultation, set something up. And it's really that simple. Again, I talked to somebody last night, actually, and she said, if I expose myself to you, you're going to judge me to me. And I said, you know, how many, because she gave me a brief on what she's got going. I said, you actually have some really awesome potential to pull yourself out of your situation where some people don't, and I don't judge them. I'm not in any position.
Mhm.
I am the neutral party who's going to look at your situation without judgment. That's
Yes.
my advantage.
Right.
So the reason why you're
Yeah.
saying that is because you're already judging yourself, and you need to eliminate that because that's causing the imbalance, the fact that you're judging yourself. So
Yeah.
I'm the one who's going to imbalance you and get everything back to a balance because of the fact that I'm very neutral at what I'm going to look at. So people don't feel like I'm going to make myself vulnerable and be judged by a financial advisor. That's like talking to a priest and saying the priest is going to judge you. That's not the role. They really are not emotionally attached, maybe empathy, but they're not going to be emotionally attached to your situation. They're going to look at
Yeah.
it from a holistic point of view because of the fact all the information that they have. If you go to a personal trainer and you tell them, I feel fat, I feel this, they're not going to judge you. They're going to look at you, and because of the knowledge, they're going to look at a holistic approach. The first thing they're going to think about, how can I make this better? That's the first
Yeah.
thought. It's not, oh my goodness, you're right, I'm looking at you judging. No, the first thought is, how am I going to make this better? For a few reasons.
Yeah.
One, because it's what they do. Two, they're in that profession because they're enjoying it and they like it. So it makes them feel good to be able to help somebody else. And
Right.
three, it's their business, right?
Yeah.
If they judge you,
Yeah.
they're not going to be in business for very long because that's going to eventually get out that they're judgmental, and people are going to stop talking to that priest. They're going to stop talking to that personal trainer. They just cannot judge. They can't be that way. And like I said, if they are, they're not going to be in business for very long. So people,
Right.
don't be worried about these things. Get the knowledge,
Right.
pass the knowledge on. Make this something where if you're a husband, you're going to pass that information to your wife. Get your wife talking to whoever it is, the advisor, the priest, whatever. As a husband and wife, you're going to pass it on to your kids, and then they're going to pass it on to their kids. And that's how it all starts. But it has to start from you. Whoever's listening to this podcast, it needs to start from you because it's not going to start from anywhere else.
No, that was a whole bunch of information, and I hope we nabbed generational wealth and generational debt. Thanks for joining us, guys. Really appreciate it. Please comment, share, subscribe to our channel if you like our candid banter. But I hope you pass this on to other people who might be able to get value from this.
And from all you viewers out there, what I want to do when I'm saying goodbye here is I want to say this. Okay, what we was suggested there, where you write down the 4 columns and answer those questions. Just in the comments, say I did it. Just say I did it.
Great idea.
Okay, now we know
Yeah.
that you did it. That's great. So then you're gonna have a better understanding. So everyone, have a great weekend and great day. We'll talk soon.